In today's episode, a 93-year-old woman living alone in her house in Mexico suddenly hears a crash at her door. After investigating the noise, she is shocked to see a bear standing in her home, looking for an easy meal. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the terrifying black bear attack on Adelia Trujillo. Welcome to Final Affliction. Getting in the wilderness can be a great thing to do. Reconnecting with nature and relaxing in the great outdoors can really help bring perspective back to one's life. But what do you do when nature comes to you? This is a question that one elderly woman found the answer to in the most extreme way. When people talked about Adelia Trujillo, they would always mention how full of life she was and how she was a woman who knew her own mind and sense of self. This could be seen through how she lived her life. Instead of buying the latest technology or being connected to the rest of the world through things like smartphones and laptops, Adelia preferred to live a more simple life. Despite this simpler way of living, though, Adelia's friends always said she was a larger-than-life character. With a spunky and strong-willed personality, Adelia was a force to be reckoned with, so much so that she insisted on staying in her small, tin-roofed house in Mora, New Mexico, which she had bought with her husband and where they raised their children. Adelia also took care of her grandchildren in that very same house, teaching them the traditions of her heritage. At 93 years old, Adelia was also still incredibly fit, as she didn't even need a walking stick to get around. The hardy old woman would often spend her days cooking her food on a wooden stove, but it was her faith that kept her going day by day. Adelia was a deeply religious person, and she would make sure to go to church every Sunday as it helped her feel closer to God. Her grandson, Richard Ortega, would tell people that the older woman knew that she wasn't alone, as she had her belief in God to guide her. He also mentioned that she would often go around blessing people and wishing the best for them in life. Whoever met Adelia often agreed that she was a kind, sweet, and deeply religious person who could get along with anyone. But no one could have seen what would happen next. It had started as a normal day for Adelia. She had gotten up, completed her morning prayers, and began to go about her normal daily routine. Whether that would be going out to the Senior Citizen Center to say hello to her friends, or simply staying at home to play some solitaire, she did not know. However, she wasn't one to rush about, and she would choose what to do based on how she felt that particular day. But as the older woman was busy tidying up her home and sorting through some washing that needed to be done, she was stunned when her back door was suddenly barged open. Being a small home, it didn't take long for Adelia to get to the kitchen to see exactly what was going on. Thinking that it could be someone breaking in to steal some of her belongings, not that she had much in the way of expensive items, the older woman still did not want any of her more sentimental items being taken. She was ready to give the burglar a piece of her mind, but when she came face to face with the intruder, she could not believe her eyes. Standing in the doorway of her kitchen was a huge black bear. Startled at the discovery and extremely scared, Adelia let out a startled scream. She knew that the bear was dangerous and that it could easily overpower her in seconds if it should so choose to do so. The older woman would be no match for the huge animal. Unfortunately, her startled scream also alerted the bear to her presence and scared the creature. It is well known that when facing an animal such as a bear, the best thing to do is to react calmly and try to make yourself look as big as possible to try and warn the bear away from you. It is suggested that you wave your arms above your head and tell the bear to back off. It is advised that you do not make any sudden movements or sounds, as it could scare the bear and cause them to attack. Sadly, Adelia didn't know these rules, and in her fright, she tried to run away from the bear. Seeing the older woman as a form of prey, the bear charged into the house after her. It only took a few seconds for the bear to catch up to Adelia, who knew that she stood no chance against the beast. As the wild animal began to tear into the older woman, Adelia was consumed in fear. Despite her age, she was not ready to leave the world, but it seemed as if she would not get a choice in the matter. The only thing that comforted the woman was that she believed that God would look after her, no matter the outcome of the situation. A few hours later, Adelia's grandson decided to go and check on his grandmother. He only lived next door, although the houses were spread out a little bit, and he liked to check in on his grandmother to make sure that she was okay and had everything she needed in terms of food and other necessities. However, this time when he went round, the sight that greeted him was one that would scar him forever. As Richard entered his grandmother's home, he instantly noticed the mess that indicated that something terrible had happened. He quickly made his way through the house, calling for Adelia the entire time, but when he found her a few moments later, he was brought to tears. The old woman had been mauled by the bear and was subsequently no longer alive. Immediately, Richard called the police, who put an alert out for the bear and began to hunt for it. In the state of New Mexico, it is common law to hunt down and euthanize an animal if it has attacked a human. This is so that it can be tested for diseases such as rabies, which could have affected its behavior, and to stop it from harming any other humans, as it is thought that after a successful attack, they may lose their fear of humans, which keeps them away from populated areas. In the case of Adelia, it took a few hours for the police to locate the correct bear. They managed to find it roughly half a mile away from the old woman's house. In the end, it was established that the bear was a 4-year-old male black bear, weighing roughly 250 pounds. Whilst this was an extremely shocking and upsetting attack, officials did stress the fact that it was also incredibly rare for a wild animal like a bear to attack and fatally harm anyone, especially in their home. In fact, at the time of the attack on Adelia, it was the first one in New Mexico to end in a fatality in over a century of record-keeping. Whilst officials weren't 100% sure why the bear attacked Adelia, some locals thought that it was due to the scant availability of food that year. The weather had been quite bad, with a combination of dry conditions, leaving plants with little water, and then a killer frost which happened late into the springtime, meaning that hardly any food grew, which the bears could eat. Even the orchards in the town of Mara were bare. This lack of food could have been one of the reasons why the black bear had wound up in front of Adelia's home that fateful day. With no natural fruits and berries for the animal to eat, it could have possibly wandered close to Adelia's home, hoping to find some rubbish that it could root through. It is also highly possible that it wasn't the first time the animal had looked through someone's bins for a meal. However, this time, after finding no available food outside, the bear possibly wandered into the house to see if it could locate something tasty inside. Little did both the bear and Adelia know what would happen at their chance encounter. But after seeing a small, frail woman who looked like a potential meal, the bear didn't hesitate to bring Adelia to her terrifying final affliction.